So here's a 22mm kit fully assembled. You can see the comp tube has now got the sleeve screwed into it, and the sleeve sticks out the back of the OEM comp tube by around 17mm. This is by design, don't worry about that. You can put some grease on that there to stop it from going rusty if you want. The 3 washers are additional preload washers. 2 at 2mm and 1 at 1mm, which gives you the ability to set 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5mm of additional preload by mix and matching the washers together or using one on its own. The piston nose basically has the seal, which is sized to the point where it nearly fails. This is by design. It's to build in temperature tolerance. It then has an O-ring directly behind it with a bearing that also acts as an O-ring backup ring. The only seal that will wear, and you will probably ever have to change, is that O-ring. The front seal, you should never have to change it, unless it gets damaged in some way. The rear bearing is held on by the top hat, by the spring, and the top hat is a dual top hat design. This is to give added strength to the piston. So the piston nose extends forward, and that's 12mm in diameter, which allows the second top hat, steel top hat, to go over. You need to put some grease or some lubrication there. You could use STP, which I use to lubricate the O-ring and piston seal, and you only need a drop about the size of a grain of rice. You could use STP there. It's so that this rotates freely. The rear guide is a push-in fit with the Mark III spring. The spring, the factory spring, does need to be shortened. Don't use it at full length. It's too much spring. Normally, for a Hunter carbine, you need to remove 1 coil from the spring and then redress the end of the spring. Sometimes it's 1.5 coils. Obviously, you must test because you'd be setting your own power in your own gun. Some rifles need 2 full coils. It depends on the age of the spring as well. If the spring is brand new, it can be 2 full coils and then redress. And then normally, you fine tune up with 1 washer. Normally, the 1mm washer is normally fine. But anyway, so as the spring fatigues and wears, you can actually add a little bit more preload to keep the power up until the spring is basically beyond its life. I wouldn't use more than 5mm of preload. If you need more than 5mm of preload, you've either done something wrong or the spring is worn out. So, there you go. Nice and easy. I greased the inside of the compression cylinder and the outside of this tube, and then pushed the comp tube in this way, and then obviously this section's threaded, and then just tighten that in and just nip it tight. There's no need for Loctite or anything like that. It won't go anywhere. Just keep your eye on it when you do your servicing on your rifle. And obviously there's a lead in there for the seal to go into. As I said, I use STP oil additive to lubricate the piston seal, the O-ring and the 2 bearings. You only need to smear it round and then work the piston backwards and forwards within the comp tube just to locate a thin film of STP on the inside. It will slide very, very easy. Often the piston will fall under its own weight, and it should be good for at least 5,000 shots, if not more. With the spring being shortened, the actual spring doesn't compress as far, so the spring should actually last longer than what it does in the standard gun also. So basically this is should be a very robust setup and last a long time. Anyway, that should give you everything you need. Don't miss out on the piston nose detail video where I show how far the rod screws into the piston nose and how much recess you need in the top. That's most important. And remember, this is purely based on the Mark III 16 dual, which is sub 12 foot-pounds TX200. not FAC. This kit will not do FAC well. It's not built to do FAC, and it will break. Normally the rear guide breaks. So be careful. It's strictly for sub 12 foot-pound or around 15 to 15.5 joules. Thank you.